Howdy there, true believers. It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another WandaVision episode review and recap. Boy, this episode's 24 minutes long. I will not take that long to give you this review. We should just get right on into it. If you remember from last episode, we had Wanda giving birth to the twins, and mysteriously Monica Rambeau was shot out of the, I guess, energy field that people in Westview are trapped in. Excuse me. So, and again, I told you all, not just in the last review, the review before that, with episodes 1 and 2, we had known who was going to be in this um, show before. We knew about Darcy was going to be in it, so was Jimmy Woo. And we already knew that this was Monica Rambeau from previous promotional footage, especially if you pay attention to casting and things of that nature. So this episode starts off with Monica's face being, her body just being reconstructed from atoms. And I didn't pay attention to the effect at first, but then all hell broke loose when she was in the hospital and she was looking for her mother. This, again, show takes place after Endgame. They have everyone on the earth has just been re-snapped, although they still call it the blip, which is really stupid. But everyone has come back. There are people. There's a male nurse who's saying that he needs to call his wife. There's people that I guess were hurt that got snapped. They're still hurt after coming back. The doctor that was caring for Monica's mother, I gotta be honest, I don't remember her name. I don't remember her mother's name, but she said, "Well, how's my mom?" She after the procedure, where'd she go? She said, "Sweetheart, your mother died 3 years ago." What do you mean 3 years ago? She died after. She died 2 years after Monica had disappeared. Because remember, a large amount of time had passed between Infinity War and Endgame. Well, now, after, I want to say 2 years, I believe it said 2 years. I have some miniature notes here. Oh wow, I have notes from last time. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, after 2 years, she had came back, and she went back into Sword. I believe that Sword was probably already in construction before the snap had happened, because it would make perfect sense. It would make perfect sense that Sword was already a thing, and maybe perhaps um, Nick Fury had already transitioned into Sword after Shield had been disbanded, and Sword, by the by, is called the Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division, which, by the by, Sword actually stood for in the comics Sentient World Observation and Response Department. Yeah, as opposed to weapons, which it is right now. And the name of the episode, by the mind, is called "We Interrupt This Program." Such a wonderful double meaning, and you'll see what I mean by that in the beginning. So she meets up with the person who was actually her superior after having a hard time getting buzzed in. She tried to use her key card, and the guy that was giving her a very hard time. First, I was kind of thinking a little bit of racism, but then I thought about it, this is a government place. If someone just tried to buzz in out of nowhere, and so the guy who used to be her boss comes in. Apparently, he is the director now. Um, Apparently, Monica is also called a captain. That's very important because Monica Rambeau was also Captain Marvel. Actually, way before Carol Danvers was Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel in the comics, and Monica was Captain. Then became a pulsar or something of that nature. So very interesting to note. She's paying attention to the fact that everything's changed in the department. They're paying attention to sentient objects and sentient creations and beings and things of that nature. Pardon me. And instead of her going back to space, because up in space, which is where Sword does most of the things, people were just blipped out. The crew that was up there went crazy. So I'm going to assume that's why Nick Fury has the Skrulls working up there, because they were already a small population. So when the snap happened, more than likely they didn't lose much. They didn't lose too many people as opposed to the entire galaxy. And when Monica said, well, she's ready to get back to work, The captain says only ground missions for right now. And she says on whose authority was actually her mother. Pardon me, it was her mother who put these rules in place, who believed that people would come back. For every reason, I guess she had faith in the Avengers. She had faith in Captain Marvel that they would solve the issue and get everybody back. And he even said that. He said, I believe that she knew all along you would come back. So Monica goes on this mission for this missing persons case. On her way down to Westview, she meets up with Jimmy Woo, or James Woo, but Jimmy Woo from the comics. He used to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics. He is an FBI agent. And if you remember him from Ant-Man and the Wasp, he was more or less Scott's handler after the whole Civil War incident in Captain America's third movie. And she's talking to him. She's saying, okay, well, what's going on? He said, well, I hadn't heard from a person we had put into hiding here. And I went ahead and talked to her family members. According to her family, she doesn't exist. And he brings Monica Rambeau over to the cops. And he says, I keep trying to tell this guy there's no such thing as Westview. Mind you guys, these police officers are right next to a sign that says Westview. And so they're both looking at each other and they're saying, okay, fine. Monica's like, this doesn't make any sense. And Jimmy's like, I've gone through records and I'm trying to find these people. Because now we're not just dealing with missing person. We're dealing with a whole town that's gone. And she says, well, how come we just don't walk in? It won't let him. So Monica brings out this drone. She flies and the drone looks very modern. The front is very flat. And it's red and gold. It flies in, bloop, disappears. Monica walks towards this field because she can feel it. Jimmy can feel it. She even has a conversation with him about what he think was going on. And he just, with all the things that are happening in the world and, you know, there are beings in space that they do and do not know about, anything could be happening. As soon as she touches the field, she's sucked inside. At that point, we are shown Darcy Williams, who was played by Kat Dennings. Love me some Kat Dennings. In the first Thor movie, and she's in the second Thor movie. She has gone from intern to student to full-on doctor. She knows that S.W.O.R.D. wouldn't just bring them in there for any old thing. And the funny part is, when she's trying to talk to the people in the van with her, one guy gave her guff and she just dismisses him in that Kat Dennings style. I'm happy to see this character come back. And one of the things that I have to note, this feels like a comic book. When you have these large-scale events, and we're taking characters from different series. Mind you, I said series because I don't want to say comics or movies, but when you take different characters, here's this girl, Darcy. Remember her? By the way, she's a doctor now. She's an expert in her field. She doesn't need help. Remember Jimmy Woo? Well, Jimmy Woo's capable. He was following Scott. Here he comes. We have all these different people coming in. And when she gets to her station, the person who was, I guess, showing her where she needed to be, he was being more or less a butt. And she's reading these cosmic readings, which are readings that come from the Big Bang. I cannot remember 100%. What was it called? Cosmic radiation. There we go. And all this, in a span of 24 hours, they brought in Darcy and all these experts, and they set up this barricade with lights that we saw in the last episode, just beaming in on this force field area of Westview. And every time they bring a drone in, the drone doesn't come back. The guy's not giving her any information, so she's just trying to get coffee, give chit-chat, but she's reading these cosmic radiation levels, and she says it's expanding. And he said, well, we were told that it was safe. He's like, yeah, it's safe for at this very moment. That it was safe at the very moment, but it's expanding. And funny enough, the person who's Monica's boss, he knows that the cosmic readings are more or less particles from the Big Bang. And they're focused on, they want to get Monica back, just period. In addition to finding out what's going on, they want to get her back. And Darcy's getting some radio readings in between everything else. This guy doesn't help her pick up this heavy thing. He's like, whatever, I got this. And she says, give me an old TV, a TV that isn't flat, because she's able to see the WandaVision show. Guys, it turns out that WandaVision show doesn't just have just the episodes that we are seeing in there. there are multiple things that are going on episode to episode to episode within that reality. And the captain, because they're bringing in these old tube televisions from the 50s and 60s and the early part of the 70s. They have people working on them, and they're showing they're showing everything. And Darcy even asked Jimmy Woo, "Okay, we know her, but isn't he dead? Like, isn't Vision like dead?" And he's supposed to be. And they're still trying to figure out, what is this? Is this a separate reality, a separate space and time? What is going on? And Darcy's just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. We're figuring this all out together. Uh, and Darcy at this point has been able to track every other episode when Wanda's by radio. So they're going to try to use the transmission for Jimmy to talk to her. Jimmy Woo is the voice that we heard calling to her saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? And when the woman had cut her hand, they didn't see on the show. It was like a quick little blip, like something was edited out, and Darcy kind of made note of it, but ignored it. Just said, it's nothing, it's fine. As as they're doing their best to just try to keep everything going, the captain is sending in someone underneath the sewers. So we know where this is heading. And Jimmy's saying, well, how do you know that the field is even not going underneath the sewers as well? It couldn't just be going out. And as Jimmy's paying attention, he's like, this thing's a hexagon. They're not only just using the television series to map out how big it is. Each and every person in there that's a character, they're identifying them in the real world. The married couple that was in the first episode, they're actually married. The people that they're running into, they're forgetting their names, and yeah, that's how they're figuring it out. So as Darcy and Jimmy are watching, because Darcy's has become invested, and pardon me, we're finding person to person, and then we get Jimmy and what did I say before? Sorry, Darcy is very invested in the story. She's come, like watching a sitcom, and she's trying to figure out, why is it going from 50s to 60s to 70s. There's so many. They're asking the same questions that we're asking as we're watching, which is fantastic. I love that Dr. Darcy, has always been the voice of the people that are watching. Even in the first two Thor movies, she would say literally what the viewers are, those in the theaters are watching. Anyhow, they're watching that Wanda's having children, which is interesting given that this is a is interesting given that this is some type of reality bubble, which means that Wanda has just created life almost out of nothing. I I'm going to assume that her and Vision didn't consummate their relationship. Maybe they did off screen. Remember, this reality is now a television show, so maybe the same rules for television apply to it. So at this time, Wanda's had twins, and we're going back and forth between that, and we're seeing um, the guy crawl in slowly and slowly, and it's odd because actually I cut myself short. As the guy's crawling through the sewer, and there's this big sewer line, he reaches the bubble point, and once he gets to the bubble point, his tether becomes one of those old school like plastic chain ropes, and he turns into a beekeeper because he has this whole containment suit on, but he turns into a beekeeper once he crosses over. And that is where Wanda and Vision see this sword guy coming out of the sewer in this beekeeper outfit, because once he touched that bubble, that's what he became. And Wanda said no, that was another blip that they missed. That is like, what is going on here? Now, back to when Wanda was having her twins. Jimmy and Darcy are watching, and suddenly they're having a conversation, but then they notice that Monica says Ultron. He says, wait, no one's ever mentioned anything from our reality before. Let's follow this. And Wanda is acting different. She's like, who are you? You're a stranger. And then it cuts off back to when she's just going back to the twins and Vision saying what's going on. And Darcy saying someone is editing the broadcast. There's something going on. Well, we are greeted because Darcy brings up another laptop and she's trying to replay it back and trying to get what was going on. We are privy to seeing the thing that we didn't see while Vision was outside talking to the neighbors, because we get that first little part where they're saying, well, she's not from around here, she doesn't have a house, blah 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 blah. We're privy to seeing Wanda saying Wanda's powers, they're glowing in her hand. She's saying that, you're a stranger, you're a trespasser, you are not welcome here. And Monica's like, very rightfully so, frightened. Wanda literally pushes her, breaks her through 3 walls of that house and through the barrier, and she goes flying out, passes out. And it becomes very frightfully clear what's going on. Wanda turns back to her children. Vision comes in and he says, before that she, did her abilities, rebuilt all the walls. And the only gripe I have is, I thought if Vision, in my mind, I saw the Vision would come out of the house and turn to the left. And if she went out that way through the left, maybe he went and turned to the right. Maybe that's how the house works. I'm just trying to, I have a map in my head of how that place looks. So maybe the den that they're in is facing directly back in a way. Anyhow, Monica's shooting out, and that's when everybody runs to her. And as she's half open, half conscious, she's saying, "It's Wanda. It's all Wanda." We are gone back to the point where Wanda's meeting with Vision, and she sees Vision's very much dead face with the massive hole in his head that Thanos made. Because even Darcy made the point of saying he wasn't blipped out, he was killed. He was dead. And Vision saw, he's like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" Lifeless eyes, cold gray face, and Wanda she blinks a couple times, and he's back to normal Vision. And Vision says, "We can go anywhere we want. We don't have to stay here." And she's saying, "No. This is our home." And one of the craziest things is we are greeted to some Jimi Hendrix as the ending music. I was too freaked out by what I was seeing to even pinpoint what the song was. But yeah, and we get the little glimpses at the end of what had happened. We see Wanda's strange face that she was making when looking at Monica, and we see Vision going through his dead face before we go through all the credits. You guys, it's very hard for me to grade these episodes because this whole entire series has just been a 5 out of 5. This was kind of a 4.5 because I'm trying to figure out the layout of that house for her to go through that wall and Vision not to see. It's pretty interesting. But the fact that the people in Westview know, a lot of them know they're not supposed to be there, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's not Hydra. It's not someone manipulating. Maybe it is someone manipulating, but the villain of WandaVision seems to be Wanda. Just like the villain of House of M, in addition to Magneto, was indeed Wanda. Wanda is creating this reality. For whatever reason, it's in a hexagon, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is another villain behind it, but it's in a hexagon shape. The power is steadily increasing. For this to lead into Spider-Man 3 and the Doctor Strange movie, I'm going to assume that Wanda's powers are just going to go haywire and not just envelop the world, but start breaking down the barriers of different realities and things of that nature, because they're in a hexagonal world that is a complete recreation of the 50s, 60s, and 70s that doesn't exist, and it has people on the outside saying that these folks don't really exist, even though they actually do. Excuse me. I love the work Jimmy Woo did. Jimmy Woo did him being a competent character is wonderful. His interactions with Scott were cute and funny and great, and I appreciate that. I love they're showing how competent he is. I love how they're showing how strong Dr. Darcy is because, you know, screw that guy. You don't want to. I don't need you to help me pick this thing up. Then, you know, you all should still give me that cup of coffee because I solved this thing for us to look in here and figure out what's going on. Uh, at this point in time, I'm pretty sure Wanda is going to be considered an enemy of Sword because, well, you know, first she took Monica Rambeau, then she hurt Monica Rambeau, and yeah, yeah. Again, this feels like a straight up comic book. If this is how the Marvel TV series are going to be from now on, I am all in. Give me something that feels like a comic. Show me other characters that I probably wouldn't have cared about. Um, I'm going to predict that Wanda is going to say probably to Darcy, because Darcy's very emotionally invested. Or yeah, probably to Darcy and Monica and Jimmy, but mostly Darcy's gonna say, you know, you all don't know how it feels. I finally had someone who I could relate to, someone who had been through something, and then he was taken away from me. You all don't understand what it feels like to be like this, but you know what? I'll make the world feel this way, and maybe that's how we get mutants. I mean, by the by, we're gonna get like we're getting some comic book level connection with these TV series going into these movies. Cannot wait to see what happens. I am a little bit concerned with Spider-Man 3 and with Doctor Strange because they have not put Black Widow out there yet, and you know, given that you know COVID and the pandemic is still a very very real thing, and we're getting vaccines out to people who need it, especially essential doctors and nurses and the seniors and elderly. I'm at this point, I just really want them to put Black Widow on Disney Plus, just so we can get it over with. You will get more people subscribing just for that. Man, where do we go from here? I don't know. I cannot wait to see episode 5. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts, guys. Agnes is probably a person. Agnes may be the person Jimmy Woo was trying to look for. She might be that person, and that will make a lot of sense given how uh, prevalent she is. Because she probably knows that she's an Avenger, but they're trying to figure this all out. Who Wanda is over this world. It's overlord, and the expressions that she's making very much shows that she has some mental distress going on. She would much rather live in this false reality with Vision and their children and ruin the lives of the other people who she's captured than live in the reality. All right, guys, that's my opinion. That's my review. Please leave a comment down below and tell me what you thought of the episode. Are you having a good time right now? I know I'm enjoying all of this. Please remember to subscribe so you can get more videos like this. Hit the notification bell so you will be notified of when we get these videos. I do these every Friday. I'm going to keep doing them until WandaVision is over. And then they give me the next thing and the next thing. Please remember to share the video so you can share and show everybody all the great content that we got going on right here. Thank you once again for joining me. Please, as always, be good, be blessed. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Be good to yourself and others. Black Lives Matter. And as always, I will definitely see you next time. Excelsior.